Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 401 of the All Dolphins podcast on this Thursday, November 7th, 2024. Joined today by Adam Beasley from Pro Football Network. What up, Bees?
401 episodes? Wow, you've been at this a while.
A year and a half. March 2023 is when I started this bad boy, and still rocking and rolling, still doing that. Thanks to the good folks who are watching today. We're going to hear us discuss the latest, including Mike McDaniel's comments regarding the trade deadline and why he believes the Dolphins are on the way back, ready to make a move. Maybe. The latest involving some injuries, and the biggest news in terms of the injury situation, of course, is Zach Sealer being back for the defense. I have just written about this on Miami Dolphins on SI.com. I'm assuming you will at some point address it on ProFootballNetwork.com, PFN.com. Just, dude, how huge is this for the Dolphin defense?
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, this team has no pass rush without Zach Sealer. It really doesn't. I know Chop is a little bit better, and, you'll get the occasional Calais Campbell quarterback hit. He's more of a TFL tackle for loss guy, but Zach is really the only one who has provided consistent pass rush for this team. So they're second fewest. They have the second fewest sacks in all the National Football League on the season. They're going to pass. The last 2 weeks it was a mobile quarterback they faced. This week it'll be more of a pocket guy, and Matt Stafford. He's not going to win any 100-yard dashes for sure. They need to consistently get pressure up the middle and get that old guy off the spot.
Yeah, no, and then Matthew Stafford is not somebody that Tyreek Hill is going to challenge to a race, unlike Noah Lyles, which he has done and which he's doubled up on after he raced the YouTuber I Am Speed, whatever his name is. No, sorry, I don't know who he is.
Speed. He's I think if it's the same guy, he was actually at Dolphins camp, invited by Tyreek Hill, I believe, during training camp, and they were supposed to race, and Tyreek said, nah, I'm not doing that. So we'll see. I mean, Tyreek's in a lot of talk, but you got to walk the walk too.
Where do you stand on Tyreek? Because I discussed this earlier on. And I get it that you can be completely focused on football when it's time for football. It seems, especially with the season is having, not only him but the team, I really wish he would slow his roll with all the social media trolling and all that stuff, and then now it just appear more serious about your job than he is. I could be completely off base. Am I crazy here?
Well, leopard doesn't change his spots, or whatever the saying is. He is who he is. Certainly, I assume that when they're in the midst of a 3-game losing streak, 6 out of 7, you don't want a lot of outside chatter. But I think it is important for this team to stay loose. And McDaniel is consistent about one thing. He's consistent about a lot of things, but one thing he's consistent about the most is be yourself, right? Be the person that you are. And look, we heard him talk today at length. Tyreek's on pace for career lows in a bunch of stats, including receiving yards. He doesn't have one of those big home run balls since the opener. I think he's on pace for, I wrote up the stats, but among the fewest yards per target, depth of target. He's not this home run guy that he has been in years past. But the offense has kind of worked around it. Both he and Waddle are getting doubled all the time. It's created a scenario in which Devon Achane has had a bunch of productivity in the outside. Jonnu Smith, how long have we been talking about, hey, they need a tight end up the middle and across the middle to help them, pick on some zone defenses. He seems to be that guy. Allen, the last 2 weeks, the offense has not been the issue, right? They've scored, 27 points in each of the last 2 games. PFN's got some proprietary quarterback rankings, their metrics that we use, the formula we came up on our own. It includes a bunch of different criteria, including things that you might not think about. How they pass, how they do when it's a clean pocket, how they do when it's a messy pocket, third downs, all these things. Winning play is more so than the basic stats. And Tua, in the last 2 games, has put together the 2 best, according to our metrics, performances in a loss by a Dolphins quarterback since 2019. And so, you think back, he's had some really good performances in a loss. That Bills game a couple years ago comes to mind. But the last 2, he's playing as well as he ever has, even if those home run balls aren't inflating his numbers. So I think they're very pleased with the way the offense is functioning. They just need to be able to get a stop in the second half, which they haven't been able to the last 2 weeks.
I agree. And I'm not even going to bring up the point I brought up on that previous episode because it went over the head of a lot of the viewers when I
let's
said
let's see if it goes over my head. Let's hear it.
Oh, that I said the offense was not to blame for either of the two losses. This is more specific to Sunday against the Bills. The offense was not the reason they lost. However, what I said in Perk was like the blame's on the offense. I wasn't quite that far, but to me was like, if you're going to beat the Bills on Sunday, you needed the offense to be excellent, borderline flawless. It was very good. Not to blame for the loss, but didn't rise to the level where it needed to be to carry the team to a win on a day when you knew the defense was going to have major issues because of their lack of depth and the fact that they were missing key players.
Do you think your entire outlook would have changed if Raheem Mostert doesn't fumble the ball?
Well, the outcome might have changed. No, and there were 4 drives when I can point to like points being left on the board, and it was the sack on the first drive / Tua dropping the snap that led to the punt.
Mm-hmm.
Mostert getting stuffed on 3rd and 1, and then them settling for a field goal that cost you 4 points. Tua underthrowing and late Tyreek on the 28-yard completion to the 11-yard line on a drive that ended with a field goal. That's 4 points left on the table. And, of course, the Raheem. And, again, that's not why they lost. But if you were going to beat Buffalo in those circumstances, you needed the offense to be that much better.
I love that your standard is touchdowns every drive. That is high. That is high standards.
Not even every drive. I mean, this is 4 drives I mentioned. If one of those plays out more favorably, you have your win. And again, if you're going to beat Buffalo on a day when you know your defense is going to have issues, it requires my standard is not a touchdown in every drive. But again,
all that being said, they did more than enough to win, right? The offense did. You tell me you're going to have 27 points, 1 turnover in Buffalo. That's about as good as you can expect, right? The Bills aren't a team that give up a ton of points, particularly at home. Like they're just not. So they were. Yeah, I mean, come on. Jordan Poyer doesn't go headhunting. They win that game. Like you're talking about 4 different plays that hurt them. Certainly, it's true on offense. They could have been better in those circumstances. There are 40 different plays on defense that if you make one different play, they win the game.
But correct. But the expectation was never that the defense was going to be able to do that, because a slight one of these, my final score prediction was 33-27. So I had the Dolphins. They scored exactly what I had them scoring, and I didn't think it was going to be enough, and it wasn't enough. Of course, this is the part where I'm not going to mention the fact that I had picked the Dolphins to win several of the previous weeks and was completely wrong. But in this particular case, anyway, be that as it may, the offense absolutely played well enough for the Dolphins to win. And if it continues to perform at that level, the Dolphins are going to win a lot more games down the stretch than they're going to lose. Hell, they might even make some sort of a playoff push. But it does require the defense to pick up its game. And the fact that they're getting a lot of players back at practice now. It wasn't just Zach Sealer. Storm Duck was back at practice, although he practiced last week. Kader Kohu was back at practice, didn't practice last week, missed the past 2 games. The one who's missing is Javon Holland. But as we mentioned before, having Zach Sealer is huge. Kader's return, I think, is more significant than a lot of people would like to believe because, again, he's your best tackling defensive back.
Yeah, and look, the Rams, you need to tackle. They're a huge yak team. Like, they really, really are. Yeah, they have Marcus Robinson who can kind of still stretch the field a little bit, but Cooper Kupp's not a home run guy. Puka's not a huge home run guy, right? I mean, these are catch the ball across the middle and run, right? That's what these guys are. You need to be short tacklers in a way in which defense really hasn't been as of late. I mean, you think about that pass to the flat. Who was a Marcus May? The guy shook out of his jock and 63-yard touchdown or whatever. I know it was an open field tackle, but still, at least slow them down, right? Don't completely whiff. They make that play, they win. So, yeah, I think tackling is incredibly important this week. I think getting pressure is important as well. I have no doubt in my mind the Dolphins are going to score points this week. And you know why? Because the Rams' pass defense is not good. Their pass defense allows 7.8 yards per attempt. It's third worst, I believe, in the entire National Football League. There will be opportunities there. I know there's a big conversation. I wrote about it that, where are these home run balls from Tyreek and Waddle? If you're getting double teamed every play, it's just not going to happen. But I do think that you will see some lapses in that Rams defensive backfield because you've seen it throughout the course of the season. There's a reason that, they're on a 3-game winning streak right now, but still only 500. They started out the season terribly, okay? And they needed a win last week, and it was against the Seahawks in overtime, a real nail-biter there. Here to me, this is my biggest concern. We've seen now in 2 straight weeks, Dolphins offense, as we say, hold up their end of the bargain. But, and I think even in the first half, they played Josh Allen fine. And I think in the first half of the Cardinals game, they played Kyler Murray fine. And they're mobile quarterbacks, and those guys always hurt the Dolphins in a way that pocket passers sometimes don't. But all 3 of those guys, including Matt Stafford this week, can beat you at the end. And that is, for me, for the Dolphins to get to where you want to get to, you got to be the ones that win at the end. And if it's last one to have the football and score, or on defense make it stop, both times, like in both situations, all the last 3 games, they've had leads in the second half. Each of the last 3 games, they've had the ball late. You could have said that if they had, gone for 2 against, the Bills, they had a chance to go ahead and win the game on offense too. Certainly the Bills would have come back and tried to kick a field goal. We don't know if the result would have been different. But regardless, they had the opportunity on both sides of the ball, offense and defense, to make the one play. What was it, like that Cardinals game? You get a first down, you probably win that game, right? I mean, when they got stuffed, what was the 40-yard line, the plus 40 or whatever it was on third down, 3 straight incomplete. Or maybe it was a run and then 3.
It was a run and 2 incomplete. No, a run, a screen that lost a yard, and then an incompletion.
Yeah. So there have been opportunities. And even when you had Snoop Huntley at quarterback, there were opportunities to win games late the last 3 weeks. They haven't been able to do it. So I think when you look back on this Dolphins season, certainly you're going to lament Tua going in IR. That was for a lot of teams and probably the Dolphins' season record. There's a reason they're 2-6. But if they miss the playoffs by a game or 2, you're going to look back at this stretch here, this 3-game stretch that they're 0-3 in, with the lead in second halves and not doing enough on either side of the ball to make it hold up.
That's fair. But if it turns out it's a season record, again, the argument that they're 1-3 without Tua, they're 1-3 with Tua. And the thing to me that's frustrating is that 1-3 record without the backup quarterbacks. As they get any kind of quarterbacking, I think they beat the Colts, and I think they very well might beat Tennessee, because Tennessee didn't do anything offensively really that night. And to me, that's a failure of the organization to not prepare better. Speaking of the quarterbacks, Dolphins it looks like they're going to go with 2, which is fine. Again, I can't remember the last time they needed to use 3 in the same game. So it's going to be Tua and Skylar Thompson. Now that C.J. Beathard has been poached off the Dolphin practice squad by the Jacksonville Jaguars, where he's going to become the backup to Mac Jones this weekend because Trevor Lawrence is dealing with a shoulder injury. Tyler Huntley's got 2 more games to sit. And Mike McDaniel kind of hinted that he's going to be the number 3 QB once he comes back. Now, is that going to be on the practice squad? Is that going to be on the 53? Something's going to have to give because they got players coming back. River Craycraft's about to come back. He was a full participant this week after Mike McDaniel said last Friday they wanted to wait a week. They're going to go with 6 wide receivers. One of those guys getting cut. Pat McMorris, the rookie 6th-round pick, returned to practice on Thursday, designated to return. At some point, he's going to get activated. When he does, somebody comes off the roster. Dolphins already have 11 DBs, including 4 safeties. 12 DBs is an awfully big number. So I'm curious as to who might go.
I mean, I think it works itself out. I mean, they really guys get hurt.
Injury, sure.
Yeah, someone in the next 3 weeks will get hurt to give Patrick McMorris his roster spot. It's going to happen. So I just think it's good that they're having talented players come back. Look, this isn't the week for Bradley Chubb, but it will be soon. Sealer's coming back. Kohu's coming back. Might not be Javon Holland this week, but he'll be back in the next couple of weeks. this is crazy to say, but I think this is one of the most important games of Mike McDaniel's time here, because you now have the offense back clicking. You now kind of can squint and see, look, they win on Monday. Their next two games are Raiders and Patriots, both at home, right? Both those games are at home. Because I think they've only played one home game in like 47 days or something. It's going to be, including the bye and all those games that they had on the road before the bye, and now they're on the road again. So it's been a long time since they played at home. They're pretty much getting the meat of their road schedule almost out of the way, right? I think they have.
Oh no.
They have what? Cleveland. They have Houston, and they have New York.
Yes.
Oh, they have Green Bay, so they still have 4 more. Wow, how many? Got 11 road games this year. It feels like.
Yeah, no, it's just it's been home heavy. Remember, they started with 3 or 4 at home.
Yeah, so, and they didn't get nearly enough wins in those early games. Like this is the schedule that you could, if you were going to have your quarterback get hurt, you don't want to be in the first month of the season, because those are games you absolutely have to win, right? It's not like, oh, okay, it's all right if we lose a few games without Tua. You can't. So, but they win on Monday. I'm not going to guarantee them to beating the Raiders and the Patriots in this jacked up year, but it's possible, highly possible, that they go 5-6 then you can start really having a conversation about, are they back?
And do they have a shot? And I think they do. If they're at 5-6, because I think, and it's happened the past couple of years, ever since the schedule went to 17 games, a team at 9-8 is going to make the playoffs. And again, at 5-6, to me, they give themselves a shot.
Yeah, but I mean, they are. What do they have? They have 4 conference losses already. Who they lost to?
Tennessee, Buffalo twice, Seattle, Arizona, and then one more, and Indy.
Yeah, so they have 4
conference losses.
4 conference losses.
That's going to even out. And now I just lost my train of thought.
But no, we're just talking about their path, and I do think that if they do get to 5-6, then all of a sudden they're 500 in the conference too. They're a game under 500 on the season. You can start to maybe make the case, but again, you're going to for this thing to work out. This great comeback that not everyone, but people in the organization think they can do. You're going to have to win 1 or 2 really, really hard.
Oh, correct.
You're going to have to either beat San Francisco at home or win at Houston. Those are 2 really, really hard games. You might have to do them both. That's why this week is so important, right? If you win this week, you have to win one of those 2 games. You lose this week, really starts to get tough for you. It really does.
Yeah, you just kill your margin for error. But maybe this is the point I was going to make that I remember it is again, this season has gone against pattern because the Dolphins under Mike McDaniel started 3-0 and 3-0 and faded on the stretch. Maybe this is a year where they start off poorly and they kill it down the stretch. I'm not saying it's no prediction. Just saying we just don't know.
Yeah, and I would also say this, is that things tend to even out for a team that's talented, and they're relatively healthy. Sucks about Jalen, obviously, Jalen Phillips, but by and large, this is a pretty healthy team. So if they stay that way and they get hot, yeah, look, nobody's afraid of the New York Jets. No, absolutely nobody's afraid of the Cleveland Browns, right? I mean, that team is that looked like a tough game when it was on the schedule. That is not a tough game anymore. I mean, you got to play well, obviously, to win, but it's not like you're going in there and it's not the same Browns team as it was even just last year. So, it's definitely there for them. They just can't lose to the Rams.
That would not be good. No, because again, it's weird. I do not recall the last time, and I don't know if just emanating from the organization or maybe from us in general, but that there was such a positive vibe after a loss. I mean, this may have been, if there's such a thing, this may have been the best loss the Dolphins have had in hell since when? I mean, a long
probably
time.
Since the last time they lost in Buffalo and the offense played well 2 years ago. Because I mean, you think about when that happened, they were coming off of back-to-back bad games, bad games. Or is it at San Francisco, at LA, the Rams,
Chargers.
Yeah, at Chargers. Back-to-back bad offensive games, and they kind of got their mojo back a little bit, and then fortunately Tua got hurt the next week, and that was it for the season basically. But no,
good call.
You could definitely see them getting confidence And that was as efficient of a game as you'll see. It hasn't been explosive. And I think for them to be all the way back, they need those explosive plays. So what you're going to either have to do is manufacture them or just force teams by sheer will of running the ball down their throats to bring a safety down from time to time. Or you're going to have to do some trickeration, draw up something that they're not expecting, which this isn't a trick play team at all, is it? Like, when's the last time we saw a trick play from these guys?
Hell, even a drop. When's the last time you've seen a draw play from this offense? Have you ever seen one under Mike McDaniel?
It's a great point. It's a great point. Well, and really, last week was the first time that I remember them actually go bootleg. Like, the bootleg of the Mike Shanahan offense was the bread and butter. Fake the stretch run, come back, John Elway, come back the other way, boom, fine and sharp across the middle or whatever. I mean, that was really kind of what they would do. Don't really see it in this version. So, yeah, I do think all those things, if you have a desperate need for some home run capability, yeah, maybe draw up something we're not expecting.
How about if the running game is functioning very, very well, you hand it off to Achane, he runs towards the line, flips it back to Tua, and then while the DBs are coming up to stop the run, you send Tyreek.
Is there a name for that kind of play?
Yeah, I forget.
Is it a flea flicker?
Is that a flea flicker? The flea Okay, fine, a flea flicker.
Yes, that is.
Okay, you were blank. Sorry.
you drew up like my favorite play when I was a kid was the flea flicker. Did you have the what was it called? It was the VHS board game for football, and I'm a little bit younger than you, but I was a kid. Like this was probably, I don't know, mid to late 80s, and like you would roll the dice and you try to advance down the football field on the board, and you would go and you'd queue up a play from the VHS, and whatever the play was that came up was the outcome of,
Oh, very nice. No,
yeah. So flea flicker was definitely something that was featured. God, I got to go look it up later, but it was some VHS board game in the 80s that I don't know why my parents bought, but we had it.
I got two of them. Since we're going on this tangent, I have two of them. I remember one was an arcade game where the field featured X's and O's with a little ball that moved, and then you had a roller ball to move the play.
Oh, that's great.
And then the other one was you ever heard of the electric football game?
Of course.
Oh, okay. That one was
that thing was impossipossible though. Like it
was horrible, but it was a funky idea though.
Yeah, right. Your entire table would shake.
Yeah.
I also had. You remember those little single-use handheld games? I had a football game on that too. Tiger games were they called? I think they were called Tiger games.
Okay.
But yeah, anyone under 40 years old is listening to this. Like, what the hell are you guys talking about?
I had the other one that was very cool was the field goal kicker with plastic, and you popped on his head, and his leg would kick, and you took a field goal with that.
Like kind of like Rock'em Sock'em boxing.
Exactly. I don't remember the name of it, but kind of sort of the same deal. Man, we are going on a tangent, so I'm going to leave it with this. I take it you were not surprised they didn't make a move at the trade deadline, and were you okay with that? And did you or did you wish they had done some kind of deal?
Well, I mean, I had advocated the week before for them to make a fire sale. So, listen, I could be proven wrong, but the odds of them making a run this year aren't great. So if you're sitting in December and you're 4-8, you might be thinking, hey, I kind of wish I had gotten some assets, right? I kind of wish I had, moved off some of these contracts. And I get maybe not wanting to trade Tyreek or Ramsey. These guys are cornerstone players. But Teron Armstead, Calais Campbell, Raheem Mostert, there are some names there that you can get some value for that, let's be honest, the likelihood of any of those three being on this team next year isn't very high. So I get it. There are people and not just Mike and Chris, but other people in that building who have a lot at stake this season. I totally get that. But I also think it's in your franchise's long-term health to accede to reality at times. And the reality is the Dolphins have like an 11% chance of making the playoffs. And they have a 1 in 149 chance of winning the division. Okay. So it's just, I would have seen and it sounds like they made some calls or they got some calls about some of their guys. So maybe just the offer wasn't right, the value wasn't right for them to move on, and that I understand. You don't want to just give somebody away, but if they did pass up an intriguing offer for one of those three dudes, they probably should have taken it.
Okay, I lied. There was one more thing, and this is only dependent upon whether you have already published your prediction for the game on Pro Football Network, PFN.com. If so, do you care to share it? And
let's see. I'm calling up our sheet because we pick every single game. I don't pick it against the spread, but okay. I mean it's -1, so whoever I pick winning is going to cover. Let's see. Who do I have? I have the Miami Dolphins winning this week.
Oh, how about that?
How about that? So yeah, let's go Dolphins. Miami has the Dolphins, the greatest football team.
Okay. How can we possibly top that as an ending? My prediction, my official prediction will be up. It's a different way. I hate Monday night games for many reasons, one of which is it messes up the publication schedule. So maybe Sunday morning or even Saturday, I'm not sure, but not quite yet. But I had no issue with what you're saying. I think the Dolphins, are on the verge of having a little bit of a turnaround. Exactly how big it's going to be, that's going to be the big question.
Yeah, I mean, here's the one thing they have not done this year. They haven't handled a team, and maybe this is the week that everything clicks for them, and they go out and they handle a team. And you kind of look at the matchups, and you get Stafford off his spot. Maybe he turns the ball over. They certainly have enough cover guys to hang with those wide receivers. Maybe this is they finally win a game by multiple scores, which would be stop the presses, right?
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing that on the road. On Monday night, I can see that when they play Vegas or New England at home. But I'd be massively impressed, and I think certainly the optimism level would shoot up even more if that were to occur. So thank you very much, Senor Beasley. Everyone, please like, subscribe, share, download, all that good stuff. Quote, comment. Appreciate you watching most of all, and we will catch you tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.